It's no accident that sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
Should I swipe right?
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong. Setting the record straight on dating apps. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world with your host, Chaos.
Well, I know he had a good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. And, whenever you want to listen to the show, I'm here for you. We're here for you. We're always here for you. The show is out there. It is on all platforms, all podcast platforms. It's on YouTube. So if you want to see the face and the faces and all the faces that are going on, you're more than welcome to do it on YouTube. It's really, I think, where we get most of our audience from. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Swipe Wrong podcast. I am that guy. We are the #1 podcast amongst what are we amongst? People who tried to get into Hell's Angels, but were too nice to get into hell, I guess. I don't know. This stuff just comes out of the head. I am that guy. I am Chaos. Hope everybody's doing awesome. So welcome to the show. Let's do the bit of housekeeping. Like I mentioned, you can catch the show pretty much anywhere podcasts are, whether it be audio platform or if you want video, it's on YouTube. And the host or the show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the author of the Musician's Playbook, and he's got a couple other stuff, a couple other books that are out there as well. Some really, really cool ones. So check them out. But the show would not go nearly as well without him. So give him all the mad love that you possibly can. This week, I know I say it all the time, but it turns into I get to meet people for the first time on the show. I actually started talking to this young lady about 5 minutes before we started recording the episode, and she's awesome. I hear all of the bad stories, or as many of them, and those are the ones that stick. Those are the ones that most of the people want to hear. This one goes from bad to good really, really quick. So it's one of those, oh man, that stuff really is out there. These good things really do happen, with their fair share of bloodshed and chaos as you go through it too. So, but hopefully this one will make you feel like, all right, cool. Hope. Now, all that being said, she's great to talk to. She's awesome. She's an author. We're going to talk a little bit about the book that she wrote. You'll probably hear in the beginning. Don't forget, Swipe Wrong has 2 books out now. One has some of the stories behind it. One is more of here's how you set up your profile. Here's how you're going to go about having good dates, things along those lines, how to connect with us. You can catch it on any of them. And you guys all know, if you listen to the show, shoot a text 317-426-6616. Email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. Bottom line is, I want everybody's story. I want to hear from everyone. I want everybody to tell me their story, because it all matters. Someone's going to connect with you the way that you're connecting with some of the stories that you hear. So please, I promise, I'm fun to talk to. But in the meantime, sit back, relax, put your feet up, grab your popcorn, get it buttered, throw some caramel on there if you want to. If you're in traffic, be careful. Please don't hit that person next to you, and enjoy the handoff.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
Tell me about the book. We'll start there.
Okay, so disclaimer, I wrote about a very hot topic.
Me?
It
No,
is
I'm kidding.
called Behind My Smile, A Rainbow Baby Story.
Aww.
So it deals with pregnancy loss and pregnancy after loss.
Okay.
I had to end a pregnancy due to a fatal issue.
I'm sorry.
And there were really no resources available for me. So I did what I thought was best and right. And I wrote my book on what I went through and what I experienced to be able to help others.
That's cool. That's
So
awesome.
that's how I wrote my book. It was honestly a therapy. I would actually, I
Yeah.
would write on my phone while I was nursing my son.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it also deals with him being traumatically hospitalized at 6 weeks old, and
Oh, girl.
we almost lost him as well.
That had to be a heck of a thing to go through. I'm sorry you had to go through it. How is he
Yeah.
now? I mean, other than regulating preschools and things like that.
He is a bull. He is an absolute
That's awesome.
bull. He wears me out. Super smart and super fun, and he's so funny. He'll drive me insane, and he'll look at me and go, "Mommy, take a deep breath." I'm like, "You're right. I need to do that."
He's already parenting the parent at 4.
I taught him well.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's awesome. That had to be cathartic when you wrote it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I did it as a like I said, as a healing thing, because I had just been through so much. Losing a pregnancy, unexpectedly getting pregnant, everything surrounding my pregnancy was stressful, and then the birthing was stressful, and then it's like, okay, fine, we made it, and then we almost lost him to a major illness.
That's crazy.
And he
Crazy.
was, very traumatically hospitalized. So it's like, okay, how do I deal with this? And a crisis worker said, why don't you write it, even if it's just for you?
Yeah.
So I did, and oops, I became an author.
4 years ago, that was COVID, right? Was that had something to do with it?
Just prior to COVID.
Was it? Okay. Fair enough. We got 2 books out on from the show, and the last thing I ever thought I would do was write a book. I mean, I got the grammar of like a 4-year-old, so me and your son would get along just fine. But I ended up, figuring out. But you're right, or what you're saying. Totally different topic, but there is a certain cathartic about just putting things out on I don't want to say paper. Who the heck uses paper anymore? But putting the words out in the universe, we'll say, and you're like, all right, it's cool just to get it out there. Yours obviously tenfold over what I did, but it's a real big relief to get all this stuff out.
Yeah, that's one thing I encourage anyone who's gone through anything to do is write it. Yeah. Even if it's just for you, even if you write it and then delete it, just do it, because there is so much healing in that, and it's amazing. I'm actually working on a second book.
That's cool.
A sequel to my first.
That's cool. How's that one feel like it's going?
I don't have the same drive to write it as I did the first one, but there is still that passion in it. Like, I need to do this because there is still a lot of stuff I got to get out.
Okay. Yeah. And it'll feel good for you, like you say. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then you said it's on Amazon and where else?
Yep. It's on Amazon, ebook and print.
Okay. All right. So, all right, cool. I didn't know if there was another one.
For that.
Okay. That's cool. When we're done, just shoot it over and we'll try to include it in the show when it pops. So
awesome.
And then, so about this side of the equation, other side of your life, there's a story out there in the universe that you want to share. I'm not sure exactly what the jest is on it. You'll have to share that part with me. And if so, was it something from the apps, or someone you met, or they met, or whoever met in the wild, or how does it shake out? I'm going to shut up and listen.
Oh, you're going to love this.
All right.
So it was a swipe wrong that turned amazingly right.
Oh, I love those.
Yes. So it is part of my story. I do touch on it a little in my book, but if you want the actual real story, this is where you're going to hear it. This is the stuff I didn't print in my book.
Putting my feet up.
So, the bad part, I had just gotten out of a very bad relationship, but yay.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I want to go have fun. I've been in a bad situation for many, many years. And I said, I just want to casually date and go out and have fun. And I had to make up for a lot of lost time.
Hot girl summer. You needed your hot girl summer, right?
Except it was happening in the winter. But
okay.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough.
So I went on Tinder because why not?
Why not?
That was the only one I really knew for online dating.
Okay.
I mean, there was the Match and then Tinder, and I went, I'll try Tinder. So I had a couple of very, very bad first dates. Those are not the swipe wrong, even though they were swipe wrong.
They were swipe very wrong. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
But the swipe wrong that turned to be right was one of the other ones. So let me see. Give me a guy's name.
Billy.
Billy. Okay. So I matched with this guy named Billy on Tinder. And I was like, all right, whatever. And we had a friend in common on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
So I played a little stalker and I went to my friend's Facebook and I searched through his friends to find Billy. Couldn't find Billy. But I found Adam. Adam's kind of cute. I was like, I don't want to be that creepy. So some time passes and, Billy and I were chatting a little bit and I said, let me ask my friend. So I asked my friend, I said, hey, who's Billy? And he's like, what do you mean, Billy? And I said, you're friends with him on Facebook. I have no clue who you're talking about. So I take a screenshot of Billy and I send it to my friend. I'm like, this guy, I have no fucking clue who that is. Okay. Well, maybe he goes by a different name.
Right.
So, okay. So I go in my friend's Facebook again and I look for Billy, but not the name. I look for his pictures.
Okay.
I cannot find Billy.
Wow.
At all. I saw Adam again. I said, he is cute. Screw it. I'm going to friend request Adam.
That's cool.
So I friend requested Adam and we became friends. And then this weird series of events happened where, we kind of liked each other's posts here and there on Facebook. Nothing much. And then a couple weeks later, Billy messages me through Tinder and he's like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be, bye, have a nice life.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Whatever.
Sure.
We were very different. I was into healthy eating and exercise.
Whoa. And how crazy. Stop it.
And he
Stop
was
it with your clean living.
And shoveling, plastic food.
That doesn't work with my Twinkies and Ding Dong diet, washing it down with 44 ounces of Coca-Cola. No, what are you doing? I'm looking for diabetes on a stick.
Dan, better wash it down with whiskey and a good beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, that's what he said. He goes, we're very different. So, I don't think we're going to work. I don't want to meet up, have a nice life. Okay, whatever. So time passes on, a couple more weeks go by, and Adam and I start liking each other's posts a little bit more and a little bit more. We start commenting a little bit more. And I was modeling at the time.
Nice.
And I had just done a photo shoot, and I was like, oh, it is time for an epic cheat day. Because, I had been working out and cutting and everything to try and, be at the right size and physique for the shoot.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, man, I want the biggest ice cream sundae.
Good on you.
So Adam comments, and he's like, oh, now I want ice cream. So me being the snarky, kind of just out of a bad relationship, just got rejected by somebody who I met on Tinder who thinks, anywho.
Damn it, Billy.
Damn, Billy. So I was like, I'm being all sassy, and I'm like, well, if you want ice cream, then go get some.
Right.
So we start, chatting a little bit more. And he's like, I went out and I got ice cream. I'm like, good for you. Was it good? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, now I'm invested in this exchange. I said, okay, what'd you get? So we start going back and forth a little bit more about this ice cream sundae. And then all of a sudden I'm like, it's kind of turning into a conversation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we go into private messenger and we were messaging back and forth like little teenagers.
Oh, look at that.
And it was like, okay, this was kind of fun, but how old are you? Where do you live? So it's like, all right, let's put this flirtiness aside. Let's get down to brass tacks. Right. How old are you? Where do you live? What do you do? Like,
sure.
Yeah, I want to have fun.
Turns into date one kind of communication of like, are we going to be an all right to hang out?
I'm a communication person where it's like, don't lie to me. Tell me what you want, because actually, I'll get to that part after. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Tinder for a reason. I understand. I get it. Yeah.
So we start getting, and ends up, we only lived about 45 minutes apart from each other.
That's cool.
And we were within a compatible age range, compatible career. And I was like, okay, this could work. He's cute and okay. And then after about an hour or so, messaging back and forth on private message, he goes, all right, I'm going to take a chance.
That's
cool.
Would you
like to go out with me sometime? Sure.
Go get
How
ice
about
cream.
tomorrow?
Oh, nice.
And it's funny, I reference it in my book. There were two responses. There was the cool, let me double check, that should work. And then the ditzy, oh my God.
That didn't come through in Messenger, I'm sure. That came through the friend sitting next to you, right?
No, I was by myself.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, 10, 9, because I'm counting down. I don't want to seem too eager, but I don't want to wait too long.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. I did like a slow count of 10. And I said, yeah, I'm free tomorrow. When and where? So we pick a place in the middle at everything. It was this fun little bistro. Okay. And we set a time and we meet.
Right.
So next day, I go on this hopefully not bad first date. Even though he wasn't on Tinder,
right,
he was the result of a match gone wrong on Tinder.
Right. And still, it's still a social media platform that you're meeting them on. So it's not like what we call in the wild, where you kind of have a little bit vibe for the personality. It's all text exchange still, pretty much, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no tone, and then it's like, okay, sure. So. And of course, yeah, I did. I looked through his pictures.
Of course you did. You already found him on your friend's site. So, you might as well do the don't go halfway. Go all the way.
Well, once we became friends and I knew we were meeting the next day, I was like, all right, I got to search through his pictures. So
As you should, though. As you should.
You got to make sure there's nothing glaringly wrong.
Yeah, or he's with another girl, or just so you know going in, right? Absolutely,
exactly. So I was like, okay, and I found out he had a son, and I was like, okay, whatever, it is what it is, no big deal. So we get to the bistro, and he comes in, and our eyes met, and I was like, oh.
Look better in person than his pictures?
Huh?
Did he look better in person than his pictures, or about the same?
I'm gonna sound like such a ditz. It was magical.
Oh shit. Oh, there's nothing ditzy about that. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? Heart skips a beat, or juices start flowing, whatever it is. Either one, wherever you're
like
touched.
The twinkling.
The
little
all throughout,
stars.
all the spots got twinkled. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that he looked better or worse or it was just
connection, huh?
Yeah, that connection, that looking at him and him looking, and I was like, wow, like it just
that's awesome.
Point on. So that was the first interaction between him and I. And then he goes, okay, I have a confession to make. Sure. What is it? It's like, this is going to sound really bad. I'm like, oh, good. Bring it on. What you got?
Here comes red flags.
Huh?
Here comes red flags. Here they come. yeah. They're flying. I love red flags. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt.
He said, my son is in the car.
Oh, wow.
His mother is coming to pick him up. I apologize. The times didn't line up quite right. And I'm like, okay. So basically, he brought his son to our first date because he was waiting for his ex to come get him.
Okay. How did that make you feel? Like, just side note, like when you heard that, what was your first, like, I'll give you my first thought after you give me what you think. Yeah, okay, awkward. My thought too, though, when I hear that is like, he could have canceled or tried to reschedule, but he wanted to meet you so bad that he found a way to figure it all in together, I guess is what I think. But awkward, yes. Awkward's another good one. But still, I was like, wow, he really wanted to meet you.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. There was no real definitive term of whether it was right, wrong. It was a little awkward because literally we had just met. Like I said, we just had this amazing connection, and and then he's like, my son's in the car. I'm waiting on his mom.
That's cool.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
So I said, well, do you need to wait outside or what? And he's like, his son was 12 at the time. And he said, I'm going to sit right here because he had a straight line. The car was like 10 feet away from him physically.
Okay.
He said, I'm just going to sit right here so I can keep an eye on him. And, he said, I'm going to keep my phone here so that when she texts me, I, can go hand him off, basically.
Gotcha.
And I was like, okay, kind of weird, kind of awkward, but I appreciated that honesty.
Sure, absolutely.
He wasn't trying to hide the fact. And he explained exactly why he was keeping his phone out, why he was going to answer it. Also that his son was important to him. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, just got to get rid of him type thing. So when the phone rang, he's like, oh, I said, is that? And he said, yeah, I'm going to excuse myself. I'll be right back.
That's cool.
I wanted to look out the window so badly.
Yeah.
I did. I really did. I did not.
Oh, that's cool. Either way would have been fine, but that's fair. That's fair.
What was that?
Said either way, I think would have been fine, but that's fair.
Yeah, because it was like, part of me was like, well, I know he has a son because I had seen the pictures on Facebook. And I was like, okay. But it felt like I would be crossing an inappropriate line if I looked to watch the exchange happen.
That's
like
fair.
I felt that was something private,
Okay.
exchange, that is your thing. That is your child. And yes, it's our first date, but I don't need to spy in on that because I felt that was, inappropriate.
Right. Makes sense.
So, but it was funny because again, I was counting the time. I'm like, all right, let's see how long this takes him. Because if it's too fast, that could be a bad sign. And if it's too long, that could also be a bad sign.
Sure.
And it was perfect. It was a good amount. It was about a minute or so. And I was like,
okay.
All right, I'll buy that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he comes back in and it's like, okay, so are we officially starting our date now? And he's like, yes.
That's awesome. That's funny though.
Yeah, it really is funny how that happened.
For sure.
He says, so I have my son with me.
So nice to meet you. By the way, got my son. All right. Gonna do a little handoff. All right. Okay. But we'll continue the date and get some ice cream or something.
So yeah, and since we had started the date with honesty, I figured I would start the date with honesty as well.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, look, I am still legally married. I am not with my ex. There's nothing in this world that would make me go back to him. If the sole dependency of humanity depended on him and I procreating, we are all going to die. And that also being said, kind of between living situations right now, and I am going to be moving in with a male friend of mine in the next couple of months. So if any of these things bother you, speak now.
Yeah, sure.
I just laid it right out for him. Like, this is this, this is this, this is where I am.
That's cool.
And he's like, so I said, we're done.
That's cool.
Nothing would ever, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He said, about the friend. He said, this friend and I have been friends for like 15 years. There is no sexual interest there at all. He said, he has been a big brother to me for many, many years.
That's cool.
And he said, honestly, it's a matter of convenience. I said, so I want to be honest, and if any of these things bother you, this is your opportunity to speak now.
That's cool.
Otherwise, game on.
Right. I love that.
And 5 hours later and 3 attempts at ending the date, we finally did end the date.
5 hours later. That was it all at the bistro?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Good conversation?
Oh my gosh. We just kept talking and talking and talking. And it was funny because we met around I want to say it was around 1 o'clock. And it was a Sunday and we both had to go to work the next day. And it's like, I think it was after about 3 hours. It's like, I had a really good time. Yeah. We should probably get moving.
Yeah.
Want to get another cup of coffee?
Oh, no kidding. No kidding.
Okay. But, another time comes. I'm kind of hungry. You want something to eat?
You ordered breakfast and lunch. Is that what happened? So here's the breakfast. 4 hours. Oh, it's time for lunch. While we're here, why don't we just get lunch too?
It was a dunch, late lunch, early dinner.
Sure. Yeah, I think the older people call that supper. I think you kind of run it all together. No,
that's lupper.
Lupper. Okay. Better than leper, I guess.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
5 hours later, and I think it was the third attempt at ending the date, we actually ended the date.
Okay.
And went back to our respective homes.
Okay. A little walk to the car and goodbye kiss?
Hug.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I didn't kiss him on the first date.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey, right. I wanted to have fun, but I'm not.
Well, everyone's definition of fun is different. Some people play chess. Some people hang from the chandelier. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand this.
Oh, I'll swing from the chandelier while playing chess.
Fucking checkmate. So left with a second date already set up, or just kind of texted the whole way home and kind of figured it out?
So we ended the date. We had exchanged phone numbers because he looked at me and no, this is before the date ended. He's like, I really like you. And I said, I really like you too. So thankfully it was not a bad first date like the others I had had.
Right.
So I said, he's like, do you want to go out again? And I was like, yeah, I think I do.
That's awesome.
So we had a vague second date planned.
Okay.
And, we exchanged phone numbers. He said, just text me when you get home so I know you're okay. And I was like, okay, here we go. Good stuff.
Perfect.
So it's so funny. Technically, I was the first one to text him, but only because he had requested me to.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Yeah, you got home okay.
And then, again, we were like little teenagers throughout the week. Back and forth.
That's so great.
And I think it was about Wednesday or Thursday of that week. He's like, so we want to get together again this weekend. And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And it was great because he said, you mentioned that little restaurant in the other town. He's like, do you want to go there? And I was like, wait a minute, you listened? Wow.
Oh, that's funny. Man,
And he's like, he knew the name of it was, where it was. And he goes, you mentioned that place and that you really like it. Do you want to go there? And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, of course I do.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Now, here's a funny, he loves telling this story. I hate when he tells this part of the story.
Well, then I gotta hear it.
So it was our second date. And, as far as men should always pay, women pay, I think that that's a very flexible thing.
Right.
I don't think it's a definitive thing.
Okay.
So I have no problem. Like if I say, hey, come on, I'll treat you to pizza or whatever, I would be paying.
Right.
Or if he's like, hey, I want to take you to dinner, he would pay, So
Right.
I think that it should be very flexible and, very dependent upon each individual relationship.
Sure.
So we get there, we have this wonderful lunch, official lunch. And, we joked that our first date had been 5 hours. It's like, all right, how many hours is the next one going to be? And it was funny because, the meal had come to an end.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, all right, I paid for the last one. This one's on you.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, here's where I was making very little money at the time. And I was in between my paychecks.
I gotcha.
So I had like $20 in my account.
I gotcha.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, sure. And meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, son of a bitch. Could he have at least said so prior?
Right.
Like,
right. Totally.
I don't mind. And he jokes about how my face just hit the floor.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, I'm kidding. I've got this. And I'm like, you motherfucker. See, my ex would do things like that.
Oh,
he
really?
would invite
So it was
me
a trigger.
out, and then when it came time, he'd be like, all right, here's the bill. You pay for it. And I'm like, haha, funny. And he's like, no, I'm serious. You're going to pay for that. And I'm like, you invited me out. So that's why it was a bad joke.
Sure.
Yeah. So
he had no idea.
What's that?
He had no idea about the past.
He had
trigger.
no idea.
Yeah.
And that's why my face just looked like he had shot the Pope or something. I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. No.
Right. When you told him that your ex used to do that, did he go, oh, I mean, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he was like, he comes from a more traditional style family where the man does pay. And I said, and that's why we had talked about it. I said, I have no problem treating you. I said, but I need to know in advance so that I'm prepared for it. And especially I was in between my two paychecks. I said, I didn't have enough. I said,
that's fair.
That's right. He's like, no, he's like, I got this. And I'm like,
that's
okay.
That's cool.
I was still a little tense. And I was thinking to myself, if he's going to start playing bullshit jokes like this, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that, even though it was a funny, harmless joke, it was actually like a red flag for me.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I got to keep an eye on him because if he's going to joke, I got to watch where these topics are going to go.
Right.
So
the triggers, obviously. Yeah.
It actually was very much a trigger. And it's like, I enjoy joking around and having fun, but it was just way too soon to have a joke like that.
Like that. Yeah. I mean, obviously he couldn't have known the trauma, we'll say, like the
Right,
trauma
yeah, exactly.
trigger.
He didn't know the trauma that went with it.
Yeah.
And he apologized. And we still joke about that. But like I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this guy, if he's gonna be a shithead and play these games. Like I'm like, I did that already. No.
Right,
No,
for sure.
I don't need that.
For sure.
So that was almost like a breaking point for me of like, oh man, I really like this guy. He's fun and he's, we're both professional and this and that and so on and so. And I was like, man, I was really confused. Like,
yeah, sure.
no.
Sure. But then you let it go and didn't look back, right? Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. So that was date 2. Then thank you for being along for the ride on the Swipe Wrong podcast. The show is produced by Jay Pelham. You want to reach out to us? We want to hear your story. 317-426-6616. Make sure to text, leave a voicemail. We'll get back to you. Shoot us an email at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Insta, Twitter, YouTube. We are definitely out there. I am the host of the show. My name is Chaos. And please make sure to take a listen to us next week because the saga, it continues.